Have you ever had that feeling of deep regret and sorrow when you memorize something from the Quran and then you forget it? You put in all that hard work and dedication and effort and then you forgot it. If you know that feeling and you know what I'm talking about, then it's probably due to one of these reasons. In today's video, bi'idhnillah, we will look at 7 reasons why this happens. Why do people, students aspiring Huffaz of the Quran, memorize and then forget? The first reason that a student would forget that which they have memorized is because they came with the wrong expectations about memorizing in the first place, meaning that they didn't know what it actually requires of hard work, time, effort, dedication, discipline to memorize the Quran, even if it is a small amount. So this problem usually happens with beginners who have no experience with memorizing. And the more experience you gain in memorizing the Quran, then the more comfortable you will be with the idea of memorizing and the knowing the time and the effort required to memorize. And so you will be idhnillah end up doing it properly as time progresses. But at the beginning of your journey, you will come to learn what it takes to memorize. And this links in with the next point as to why a student forgets what they memorize. So the second reason why a student forgets what they memorize is because they don't have a teacher or they don't have a system of accountability, which usually comes in the form of a teacher. This is extremely, extremely important. Number one, because your teacher will pick up your mistakes. Number two, your teacher will hold you to account. And number three, your teacher is the yardstick to gauge whether you have actually memorized a surah properly or not. Many times a student will come to me and they'll read a surah that they've memorized, but they'll make so many mistakes in it. Prior to reading it to me, they'll tell me that, oh, I thought I memorized it really good and it was really strong when I was doing it on my own. Well, there's a problem. You were doing it on your own. You didn't have any pressure. You didn't have anybody to listen to you to pick out your mistakes. So you need to have a teacher who will hold you to account. And if you can read to a teacher whilst under some pressure, then alhamdulillah, this is a sign that you have memorized the surah well and that you won't forget it. The next reason a student forgets that which they have memorized is because they don't have a technique, a method to memorize in the first place. It's all well and good knowing what to memorize, but what about knowing how to actually memorize? For me personally, this was actually, I would say, the turning point, the transformational point in my memorization journey is when I met my teacher in Egypt, Hafizahullah, may Allah preserve him, and he taught me a method for memorizing the Quran. This was a game changer, alhamdulillah. Like prior to this, I didn't even think that you needed a method. I thought, okay, just memorize, just repeat it a few times, just link the ayahs together. No, rather, you need to have a tried and tested method to memorize. And then you need a teacher, which links to the previous point, to read to hold you to account, and to check that you have actually memorized it properly. So if you approach your memorization and you actually haven't really got a method to memorize, that's probably why you're forgetting that which you are memorizing. So make sure you use a tried and tested method, and there's so many out there. So you need to find the method that works for you. I'm not going to claim that one method works for all, as some people make that claim. However, you need to find a method that works for you and your lifestyle and your schedule. The rule that is general in the case of memorization is yes, repetition is key. Repetition is the secret. There are no shortcuts. It's all about repetition. But as for how many repetitions you do and when you do them and how you link the ayahs up and so on and so forth, this varies depending on the technique that you're using. By the way, if you want to access this methodology that I use to memorize the Quran as well as my students, then you can do so by joining our community using the link below this video. The next reason a student may forget that which they have memorized is because they didn't follow it up with a revision plan. Revision is the key to memorization. I'll say that again. Revision is the key to memorization. This is the downfall of many students. Even some of my more experienced students, they will end up sometimes lacking the motivation to memorize. So if you do not come with a proper revision plan and you don't stick to it, then guess what? You'll end up forgetting what you memorize, or your memorization will be weak. So as a general rule, if somebody is memorizing 1 page a day, I say to them that you should revise this page for 10 days consecutively. This is a general rule that if you adhere to, you will not forget that which you have memorized. Another reason is sins. Sins prevent us from learning and memorizing the Quran. Imam Shafi'i was told by his teacher when he complained to his teacher about his poor memory, his teacher Al-Waqi said to him to leave off sins. And he said that knowledge is the light of Allah, and the light of Allah is not given to the sinner. So if you're trying to memorize the Quran and lighten your heart with the words of Allah, know that you have to ensure that you're staying away from sin as much as possible. You're keeping your heart clean and pure. because not doing so will only make it more difficult for you to memorize the Quran. Another reason people forget that which they have memorized is due to being preoccupied with too many things. You need to make your Quran number one in your day. Make it the first thing you do in the morning after you have prayed Fajr. Or even better, if you can start your day before Fajr and start your memorization, then that is great, because this is the blessed time of the day. And this is the time where your mind is generally free from any distractions, any thoughts. You haven't started your day yet. The dunya hasn't come to you yet. But what you should not do is leave the Quran till the end of the day when you're tired and you're only going to give it 20% or 30%. Rather, you need to give it 100% and you need to prioritize it and you need to manage your other responsibilities in your life around the Quran and not the other way around. If you do this, bi'idhnillah, you will see you will be consistent in your memorization of the Quran. And the final point is a very important one, brothers and sisters, and that is if you don't act upon that which you have memorized, you will forget it. The opposite is true. If you act upon that which you have memorized, bi'idhnillah, this will help you to remember it. And that is the way of the Salaf as-Salih, the pious predecessors, which is why they used to memorize 10 ayahs only at a time, because they wanted to ensure that they understood these ayahs, what it meant for them, and then apply them in their life. Which is why Umar radiallahu anhu took 10 years to memorize Surah Baqarah. Not because he was incapable of doing it quicker, rather because he wanted to implement it in his life. So the pious predecessors took knowledge and action together. It was part and parcel of the same equation. Whereas us today, we have distinguished between knowledge and action. We have taken the Quran merely as something to be recited, but not necessarily to be acted upon. So therefore, we must return to that approach of memorizing, understanding, and implementing. And by doing so, bi'idhnillah, this will help you to remember that which you have memorized. Brothers and sisters, we have some great news. So look, memorizing the Quran is not easy, and doing it on your own is certainly not any easier. So alhamdulillah, we have set up a community so you don't have to do it on your own. In this community, we will support you, guide you, provide you with accountability, and we will have group classes. You will have access to a technique, our memorization technique, the one I use myself and some of my students use to memorize the Quran, and that will bi'idhnillah help you achieve the results that you're finally looking for. However, we do require you to be able to already read the Quran, because there are stages to memorizing, and before you actually memorize, you should be able to recite the Quran with fluency. So if you feel that you meet these criteria and you're ready to commit to memorizing the Quran, even if it's not all the Quran, even if it's some of it, even if you haven't started and you would like to start, then join our community using the link below this video.